It's college football Saturday, kind of. I was told this morning by the internet I was not allowed to call it week 0 anymore. It's week 1. And I'm like, we have 2 week 1s. Make that make sense. We do have a limited slate today, but I do love how it's structured out. Noon kickoff coming up here first. If you guys saw a bet on it, I did give out North Carolina. So nice little interesting line move today. We'll talk about that game as well as many others with VR. He's going to be joining us here first. Then we got Ross the Boss. He just got off the newest show here on WagerTalk Saturday morning. It was on Thursdays before, so it's not really a new show. We just got a new time here before last call, the BLITZ with Brian Power, and Ralph Michaels. If you guys caught Total Bases this morning, that's where you can get all your baseball action. We are done talking baseball on this show. So let's bring in VR. Good morning, VR. We're going to get right into it. We've already got almost 100 people here in the chat this morning. So if you guys have a question for VR, for Ross, and I forgot to mention Steve Merril is batting cleanup today. So drop those questions in the chat. I am so hyped that college football is here, VR. I do a new show called On Tilt with Ariel Epstein, and I kind of went on a little tangent yesterday, and I was upset about some of the NIL and transfer portal and NFL players and all these legislations. And I was like, you know what? Relax. Just got to take it for what it is. College football is here, and it is time to make some money.
It's that time of the year.
All right, let's get into it, guys. If you are new here on Last Call, I basically just let the dog off the leash. And I don't see Jackpot sitting behind VR right now, but maybe we will. And he's always off the leash on these shows. And I love his early morning appearances there on the West Coast. But I'm going to let VR kind of do his thing. Talk about some of the steam. He may give you guys out tennis. He may give you guys out golf. He may give out college football, NFL week 1, some teasers. You just never know what you're going to get here on Last Call with VR. As always, you guys can catch him and of course, Marco D'Angelo Wednesdays here on on WagerTalk. All right, VR, you have the floor.
All right. Let me give you some real actionable information first. Pull up your extra board games. I'm going to run off all the sharp plays that just got bet early this morning. You ready? Start off with the latest bet. Just came in right now as I am speaking. Campbell plus 6.5. So that's Campbell. It's either 8.5 or 6.5. Don't have my glasses. Hold on. That's 8.5. Campbell plus 8.5. Stonehill plus 4.5 and over 45. Stonehill plus 4.5 and over 45. Under 51.5. Central Connecticut, South Dakota. Central Connecticut plus 23. And Robert Morris Wagner over 39.5. So that's Campbell plus 8.5. Stonehill plus 4.5 and the over 45. Under 51.5. South Dakota, Central Connecticut. Central Connecticut plus 23. And the over 39.5, Robert Morris and Wagner. Those are the extra board steam moves. Those do really well long-term. They haven't started out well. In fact, I think they're like 1-3 over the last couple of days on those extra board games. But historically, that's where the money is. And now with the prediction markets open, there's a lot more liquidity. So rest assured, you're going to start seeing more and more steam action on these added games where before that wasn't the case. You just couldn't get down. Now they can get down. So you'll see a lot of action. Don't overlook those extra board games. Now, getting to the real board, the stuff that we're all looking at. You're going to get a lot of two-way action because these lines have been up for a while and some have moved significantly. None greater than TCU, North Carolina. TCU got the money early, came out at 6.5, got steamed through that key number of 7.5 quickly. Now, books know if they want to limit their risk on TCU, all they have to do is go to 9. As soon as they've gone to 9, UNC's gotten hit. So at 9, we saw UNC got hit. That's why it's back down to where it's sitting right now. But TCU, UNC depends on the number. The under one-sided. Not only is the sharp money on it, but the public's moved it so low. I'm interested to see if we see over money before kickoff because the sharps went under 50.5, under 49.5, and 49. Since then, the public's moved it all the way down. They just keep betting this game under for whatever reason. 308, Florida State, minus 29.5. They got hit with 30.5 yesterday. Under Hawaii Stanford. We talked about that on Bet On It earlier in the week. They hit that again. 314, USC. These big spreads, again, you're going to see some take back when it moves so much. And this one moved about a touchdown. They laid USC at 35.5, 36. San Jose State got take back at 40. So if they want to limit some risk on USC, all they got to do is go to 40. You'll get takers on San Jose State. The overs sharp, over 58.5, 59, and 60. NC State, another team that gotten a lot of sharp money at +6.5, +6, 5.5, and 5. And they also went under in that NC State Virginia game from 54.5 down to 53. But want to throw this out there. I did see Virginia money line action. So I saw NC State get hit at about 6, 6.5, but I'm seeing Virginia today on the money line get bet. Finally, Jacksonville State, double digits. They took the 10 out. They took it all the way down to 7.5. So that's a big move from 10 down to 7.5. Bunch of limit bet half-point movements. And they also went under 48.5 and 48. So a lot of moves in college football. Don't mean to confuse you. You're going to get some two-way action when the lines move so significantly. With all that said, this is what sticks out the most from the betting public. This is what they like the most today, the heaviest one-sided public games. The under in North Carolina TCU, again, rarely does a total stick out this much, but it is like 100% of the betting actions on the under. I don't see a single over bet in North Carolina TCU. They like Hawaii over Stanford. They're taking the 4 points with Hawaii, and they're betting Hawaii on the money line. They don't think Hawaii needs the points in that game. They laying the points with USC. They're not afraid to lay all those points with USC. That one's bet heavily. And then NC State's another side that I'm not just seeing straight bets on NC State, but I'm seeing the public bet the money line on NC State. And I just told you, I saw Virginia money line get hit by sharp bettors. But the public's betting NC State. They don't think they need the points because they're taking them on the money line as well. That's what sticks out the most. Again, it's only 8 a.m. here on the West Coast, but we're up bright and early because it's college football and a lot of money to be made over these next couple months.
And we always appreciate you. I do not miss getting up that early in the morning, VR, like I used to have to when I lived out in Las Vegas. Okay, right after this, you've got the Steam Room. Yeah. Coming up live. So kicking off with the game in Dublin, you're going to take everybody and their questions into the afternoon slate. Now, I know everything's kind of structured a little differently for week 0, but kind of let everybody know what they can get from you in the Steam Room, who's invited today, and whatever else they need to know.
We're going to open it up because next week it starts serious business where we get into the real week ones. NFL's coming. So next week is for my subscribers and the guys that are partnered for the football season. Because again, we got to map out the game plan for the next few months. Today it's wide open. So I could answer all your college football questions, any NFL questions. I'll go over any futures you want to talk about. I have all my power ratings for NFL, college football, all my futures for each division. Anything you want me to cover, I will cover. I'll go over all the live information that's coming in as we're having the Steam Room. A lot of times they're betting second halves. They're betting some of this extra board games. They're betting baseball. Like Kelly mentioned, there's WNBA. There's a lot of markets today. I'll have action on all of them. I'll be able to share a lot of information throughout. And most importantly, I'm there to answer all your questions, go over risk management again and again and again, because that's what matters more than anything else. You can have the information, but if you don't manage your risk correctly, it really doesn't matter. That's why most end up losing money, even though they could beat 11-10. A lot of you guys can beat 11-10. You just don't manage your money correctly. And if you can't do that, you're not going to profit. So a lot of good stuff going on in that Steam Room. It's open to all today. So make sure you join us. We'll go over a lot of college football action for sure.
I love that. Open to everyone. So not only your premium subscribers, not only WagerTalk insiders, but anyone who clicks the link over there on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. Go hang out with VR and learn some things on this beautiful college football Saturday morning. VR, as always, it has been a pleasure. I'm going to get you out of here. And I'm going to bring in Ross Benjamin. He just got fresh off the BLITZ. And of course, I do not have my graphic loaded because I am not a very good producer. I'm about to make Dan Alexander have to start working Saturdays again, guys, because otherwise, what are we going to do here? I got all these downloads and all these graphics, and I don't have the right one. You know, you'd think that I'd be a little bit better prepared for the show, but here, I got it. I'm so excited for myself because right now, we've got a contest over on Splash Sports I want to tell you guys about here with WagerTalk. So as you guys know, I've been a commissioner over on Splash for a long time. We've got 3 college football contests over there right now. Pick 7, $500 entry, $100 entry. And of course, that college football survivor that is going to be filled probably by the end of the weekend. So if you are waiting on that, you need to get on it now. WagerTalk's also doing a $50,000 guaranteed NFL Pick 5. Only 223 entries allowed, $250 a person. So you guys have about a week and a half to get signed up for that. No trip to Vegas, no proxy, no problem. Available in 35 states. All right, let's bring in Ross Benjamin. As I mentioned, he just got off of the Blitz with Brian Power and Ralph Michaels. I'm very excited that you guys moved your show to right before mine, or this one, if you will, because I think it's so important for our Wager Talk family to be able to get up-to-date, last-minute information from some of our top college football handicappers on the site. How was your first show?
Not bad at all. Always got to tease Ralph a little bit, and then we went through all the games on the board, and we're also going to be on Tuesdays too, Kelly.
Ooh,
same show. We're going to be covering the Thursday and Friday action in college football.
Ooh.
So a little different twist.
Hopefully a little MAC action once that gets going. What is that? Week 4, I think they start, maybe week 5. Some of those Tuesday, Wednesday games. That's awesome to hear. Let's take some of these questions, Ross. I know that's what you guys did this morning as well. So if you guys have some questions for Ross, we're going to get in here. He wants to know, Nick from NYC wants to know, is the public on USC versus the Memphis game? So UNLV plays Memphis later on tonight. USC plays San Jose State. Ross, I saw a little stat, I think it was yesterday or the day before, and I went over it with Ariel about these massive favorites, week 0 and week 1, and they just covered an existential rate, unless, of course, something crazy happens and they give up a late touchdown, right? The other night, I had North Dakota minus 22 in the FCS, up 42-0 at half. That I consider a bad beat. Yes, they still have 2 halves of football to play, but that's where these big spreads get me, right? These double-digit, 4 or 5 touchdown favorites like, USC, FSU is today. Kind of talk about how you try to decide on how you're going to bet those games. Because for me, I understand they do cover, but every single time I lay chalk like that, guess what happens?
Yeah. Well, you just mentioned it, right? So, Kelly, if I can't make a case for an underdog that I think has a realistic chance to win outright, and I'll never lay this kind of number, that's just me, unless it's maybe the only game on the board that day for whatever reason. To me, it's a stay away game. However, I will say this in regards to that college football betting system, home favorites of 36.5 or greater since 2013 that are playing in their season opener and their home favorite of 36.5 or greater. 21-3 against the spread since 2013, won all 24 games straight up, an average victory margin of over 51 points per game for what it's worth. And then in terms of Memphis, I think a lot of the public is jumping on Memphis, and I think they're on the wrong side. I really do. I think that you look at this Memphis team, I think this is a team, Kelly, that as the season progresses, we're going to see them get better and better. Why do I say that? Well, Charles Huff is their new head coach, formerly of Southern Miss last year, and they have 11 starters on offense and defense combined that played for Southern Miss last year. So he's brought pretty much half his team with him, and they have 75 new players in all. Now, they're going to be talented, but there's still going to be a transition period, and it's not like Southern Miss was a world beater last year. They were 7-6. And UNLV, they've lost 11 games in the last 3 years. 5 of them have come against Boise State, who's no longer a member of the Mountain West Conference. And 3 of those losses to Boise State came in the Mountain West Conference game, our championship game. I like UNLV here. It's going to be a small lean, actually, minus the points.
Let's talk about this, because I have a buddy that does some stuff on VSiN and JVT, and he was talking about the 2 quarterback system. They're going to try to run the Wildcat. And I made the joke because I can. As a K-State fan, I have experienced this far too many times. I said, if you have 2 quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks, right?
Yeah.
So tell me your thoughts on the UNLV quarterback situation. He had kind of alluded to, hey, no. We've got our starter. The backup is just going to be running special kind of option plays. And I said, I don't know. Talk to me about when you have teams like this early on in the year, and we still don't have a definitive, in my opinion, leader in the locker room.
Well, you know what, Kelly? You make a good point because Jackson Arnold is supposed to be their starting quarterback. You know what? I don't know what offense they're running, but they're going to have to find one that fits him because the last two schools that he stopped at was Auburn and Oklahoma, and he was a disaster at both of those schools. Disaster in the sense that he was a 5-star recruit coming out of high school, highly touted, and he lost his starting job at both of his previous 2 stops. So maybe Dan Mullen can get it right for him. And you're right, Kelly. I mean, when push comes to shove, if you have 2 quarterbacks, you really don't have none. I think eventually this kid Orji will take over, former Michigan quarterback that hasn't got a lot of playing time. And I think he'll eventually be the starter because Jackson Arnold, to me, I see the same thing occurring. But you never know because last year you saw Anthony Colandrea, who was a monumental flop over at Virginia, turn into a pretty good quarterback at UNLV. So those are my thoughts there.
Oh, sorry, I got myself muted. Shocker. Oh, you guys, we're gonna get the kinks out. I promise this is why I started doing last call in July, so we didn't have week 1 kinks. Jesse Schul's in the chat. You, I believe, are going to be doing a new show with Jesse Schul as well called The Winner's Circle. Tell us about that, and then kind of revert back because I kind of wonder if I don't agree with him here that Charles Huff is a better coach than Dan Mullen.
Yeah, we went through this yesterday. Jesse's crazy. I love him. He's a great handicapper, but he's trying to compare Charlie Huff to Cignetti from Indiana and the parallels. And anyway, I'm teasing when I say that because, we're doing the Winner's Circle show. And we were on another network a couple years ago, quite successful. We did our first show this week. It was a college football show. We'll be doing college football and NFL shows separately once each a week. So looking forward to that. Got a very good response in the comments section on our first show. And I know Kelly will be happy with that. And Kelly, thank you for allowing us to run that show. We're going to do the best we could to make you look like the smartest woman like you are.
Oh boy. Yeah, I'm not. My production skills say this as well. Everyone seems low on UNLV. Makes me want to fire on them again. Mac Hudson, I don't disagree. I think that that's kind of where I finally hit a breaking point this week, Ross. I didn't love anything. We know that these week 0, week 1 lines have been out for a long time. And I saw TCU get hit early in the spring. And I kind of said, you know what? Let's see what Bill Belichick can do over the summer. Now he's got his first full year there at North Carolina. Remember, he was a late hire last summer. But ultimately, the reason why I'm on North Carolina today has nothing to do with North Carolina. In fact, it has everything to do with why are we laying this many points on a neutral field with the Horned Frogs? And now we've seen their best defensive player, one of their best defensive players, and their second best wide receiver be announced out this morning. But ultimately, I didn't understand all of the love that the Horned Frogs were getting. New quarterback, transfer from Harvard. I said, okay, we don't know anything about this guy. And oh, by the way, the last 3 years, they're starters now with Cignetti at Indiana. So UNC is down to 7.5. I know a lot of people in the comment section said they can't make this under low enough. VR mentioned everybody was on the under. Tell me what you think we got to do here in Dublin. The game's kicking off in about 42 minutes.
Yeah, I don't have a fighter in the ring in this one, but I will say it would be hard for me to take North Carolina. I know that you like them, Kelly, and you know what? I hope you win because I don't have stake. I'm just a little leery. Yeah, Bobby Petrino comes over as an offensive coordinator for North Carolina. We know his history as an offensive coordinator. Every school he's gone to in the first year has improved by 4 points a game or more scored. I surely think that that's going to hold up, Kelly, because North Carolina's anemic offense last year can't get any worse, and then you have the factor where Steve Belichick is not going to be with the team initially to start the year. Their general manager, Lombardi, the issues he's had. And, I don't know. I just have a hard time pulling the trigger with North Carolina. And also last year, these teams met in the season opener. For what it's worth, TCU won that game 48-14.
Just destroyed them.
Yeah.
Them in Chapel Hill. It was, and that's kind of my thought process. I'm with you. There is some issues there as well on the North Carolina side of things. Bet on It said, pick a game, give us out a free pick over on WagerTalk.com. And I said, all right, I'm 9.5. I'm on board. I did sprinkle a little bit on that plus 265, just because I had to, in case they somehow win this game. Underdogs 1-3-1, or favorites, 1-3-1, straight up in the only 5 games that have ever been played in Dublin. So it is an underdog field. It's also an underfield, 1-4. The last 3 games have landed on 45 exactly. I still can't take that under. 50 was available. Yeah. 49 was available. And now we're sitting here at 47, and I'm going, all right. I missed the boat. Maybe look towards a second half or something if it's a higher squaring first half.
Kelly, I'm glad that you mentioned that it's not so much about North Carolina, because a lot of people fail to realize we're just out to beat a number. In terms of the players on both sides of the ball, I think we have a tendency to talk about them early in the season because there's not a lot to go on. There's not a sample size. But, at the end of the day, folks, I don't care if I can't pronounce Hawaii's quarterback's last name, which I can't. I'm out to beat a number, and Kelly is as well.
Ross, you never have to worry about name pronunciations on this show because I am insured to butcher them. Even the easy ones I do butcher. First quarter under 10.5 is out there. Man, you guys are great. I wish I could get down some significant money on any of the quarter bets or prop bets or anything fun like that. You got to play anything 7 or less. You got to play TCU. I would probably agree. If it does drop below 6.5, I may try to middle that game just to be feisty on week 0 here, Ross. We'll see. We'll keep an eye on it. We've got 39 minutes until kickoff. So keep an eye on that one on the Odds Logic screen, oddslogic.com/Kelly in Vegas. If you want to use it for free for this week, it's on me. Okay, Ross, let's get into a couple more of these games before we get you out of here. Anything else that really stood out to you on this beautiful Saturday morning of week 0? Like I said, I kind of brushed off these big favorites, even though I know that they do cash at a great rate. Yesterday, Joe Ranieri on the show with Ariel Epstein said, Cal, just start looking at these teams in the first half. And I said, you're probably right. Is there anything that you think is worth a look here? I know you've got a card over at WagerTalk as well. So kind of let everybody know what you've got going on over there and anything that maybe narrowly missed that card.
Yeah, I got a 4% top play going in the North Carolina State Virginia game, up for sale right now, $25, 19-5 with my last 4% top plays in college football. And without beating a dead horse, Kelly, I've been saying this for weeks. I'll say it again. Number 1 over the last 3 seasons in college football at WagerTalk, 182 and 120, 60%, 53 and 31 last year, 63.1%. And I finished second at WagerTalk. You know who finished first? Kelly's first guest.
It's VR. I just looked at the graphic. I cheated on it on X. I just looked because I did remember seeing you this morning when I retweeted that graphic. Third was Drew Martin Betts. So it's great to see you guys all up over 50 plus units. Drew 62, you 75, and VR 86 units on the college football season. What a nice record all 3 of those are.
Well, let's keep it going, boys, is what I say. The Hawaii game, it's brought up a lot of discussion in the earlier show and some questions in regards to that. We saw Stanford go all the way up to a 6.5 point favorite. Now they're back down to 4.5. I like Hawaii. And you look at Hawaii and they have Timmy Chang, who really turned the program around last year as they won 9 games. Stanford, look, 11-47 in their last 58 games, something like that against FBS opponents, including 6-28 in their last 3 seasons. Yes, they're a Power 5 school. Yes, Hawaii has trouble on the road. And yes, Hawaii hasn't beaten a Power 5 school in a long time, but there's always a first time things happen. And they don't necessarily have to win. They just need to stay inside the number. I like Hawaii's quarterback. I'm not going to butcher his last name. As a freshman last year, he performed awfully well. In the hire of Tavita Pritchard as Stanford's head coach. And I'm interested to hear what you got to say, Kelly, because this guy has no head coaching experience. He was hired by Andrew Luck, and guess who was Andrew Luck's backup quarterback at Stanford? Tavita Pritchard. And guess who Stanford's AD is? And that's Andrew Luck. So I think it was a safe hire for Andrew Luck and a comfortable hire for Andrew Luck. And I don't think a lot of people were standing in line for the Stanford job either, Kelly, because they have a hard time recruiting there.
They do have a hard time recruiting there. I think this is kind of one of those plays where I got my hands just completely off of it. I know some sharp guys on both sides of this game that I respect, and I've seen this one bounce back and forth. It's come down significantly over the last week. I think it was 5. Was it 5? Let me look and see what I looked at. This was last Monday. No, not too much. 4 now, back up to 4. It was 6 in the opener. So now down to 3.5. Now, yesterday we saw bounce back to 4. I don't think that there's a lot to be left desired here. I'm more curious as to Stanford next week, and they play Miami, 24.5 point home underdogs. Excuse me, road underdogs. Home underdogs. Is it in Stanford? Home underdogs. They will be home to Miami. So I've got that one already circled, right? 24.5. I'm going, all right, the public's going to be all over Miami. Let me just keep that one in my back pocket and see if I want to.
Especially if Hawaii beats them, Kelly,
Well, that is going to absolutely skyrocket that line. Yeah. And here's the thing. If Ralph Michaels talks about this all the time on his TNA segments. I don't know if he talked about in the Blitz, but teams with a game under their belt, if they win that first game. So let's say it ends up being a 24-21 Stanford victory. Hawaii gets the cover. Stanford squeaks out a win on a last minute field goal. Having that confidence carried in to week 2, week 1. What is it? I'm going to screw that up for the rest of the week. Week 1 instead of week 0. I do think that it's going to be one of those scenarios where now I'm looking at the Cardinal even harder. So we'll keep it in our back pocket there, and I'm going to end up staying away this week. Steve Merril just popped on, so I'm going to get you out of here. Anything else you'd like to share before we do?
Just the 4% top play again, up for sale right now, $25. North Carolina State, Virginia game that goes at 3:30 p.m. Eastern time. And a lot of good things coming up. Winner's Circle, new show for me. Blitz, 2 shows a week. And occasional appearances with Miss Kelly. And Kelly, have a great season.
Yes, we are going to have an amazing season right here on Last Call. You're going to have the top guys every single week. So if they are winning bettors, if they are making their clients money, you guys are going to get free access to them right here on Last Call. Again, check out the Blitz. It's going to be on Tuesdays with Ross, Ralph, and Brian Power. And then, of course, live here on Saturday mornings before Last Call. All right, we got Steve Merril waiting in the wings. But first, I got to tell you guys, once again, head over to splashsports.com/Kelly in Vegas. Check out my college football contest. Less than a week to sign up. There right now is about $20,000 in each in overlays. That college football survivor is not going to last the week. Just letting you guys know if you want to get involved there. And of course, the $21 million guaranteed is the largest overlay right now we've ever seen in survivor history. If you guys are not getting involved, $1,000 buy-in over there on Splash Sports, you guys are missing out. And of course, we've got our NFL Pick 5. No trip to Vegas, no plane, no proxy, no problem. You can sign up from your couch from 35 states. And I got a pro tip for you. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but I'm going to say it. If you live in Pennsylvania and you happen to be in New Jersey at the beach or Ohio at your in-laws or in a neighboring state that does allow it, guess what? You can sign up. Kansas people, you guys are in Missouri, Oklahoma, Nebraska, and Colorado all the time. Just cruise on over. And once you are signed up in a legal state, you can submit from anywhere. I have submitted from Dublin. I have submitted from Rome. I have submitted from lots of places where Splash is not allowed, but because I signed up in a legal state, we're able to do so. Assuming Art will be on next week. Yeah, you're probably assuming right. So assume away. We're going to get lots of different guys in here, get you guys some action behind the counter, get you guys some action behind the computer screen, and get you guys some sharp bettors. And that includes my good friend, Steve Merril. Welcome in, Steve Merril. I think we've kind of talked about college football ad nauseum. So I'm going to let you have the floor and talk about some of these NFL preseason games. I am really kicking myself because the dogs have been barking all preseason, and I have barely gotten involved.
I'll tell you one dog that was not barking last night was not my Washington Commanders, and we took advantage. Finished the preseason 70% on best bets, and we had one of them this week, and that was the Ravens last night, -3. And when I checked the scoreboard in the second half, it was 41-3. I didn't turn the game on. It was on local TV here. You don't have to watch this stuff to win, right? That's the nice thing about it.
Let's talk about this Commanders team, because Ariel and I do a new daily show with Joe Ranieri. And the other day they're like, give me a team that's not like one of the bottom feeders completely. Like no Miami, no Cardinals, no Jets, but like just like a team that you think is really going to underachieve and be really crappy this year. And I gave out your Washington Commanders.
You're late. You're late.
I know I'm late, but under 7.5 wins, I did not get to the window with my money, but I made a pretty compelling case to the fact that now I may have to get to the window with my actual money. I think I talked myself in to Jalen Daniels having another awful year and them not winning 8 games. Your thoughts?
Yeah, Jalen Daniels, RG the third, Robert Griffin. Yeah, I mean, there's so many. He's so little and skinny out there. It's just hard to imagine he's going to stay healthy again this year. I mean, he had injuries last year. I don't disagree. In the financial markets, buy, sell, hold. I'd say I'm hold. I'm neutral because I don't think they're great. But as I said a minute ago, actually being serious, last year was the year. In fact, it was probably the best NFL futures play I've ever seen. I think I've only released one in 6 years of WagerTalk. I haven't put any up this year, and it was Commanders under. I put it up in like June last year, and it checked all the boxes. The best play I'd seen the year before was the championship game. We faded them with the Eagles. They were a phony team that year. They had 3 or 4 wins in the final play of the game, I think. And then on top of that, you had the injury potential for Jalen Daniels. And I like Daniels. I wasn't rooting for an injury. But with the NFL futures, as Kelly just said, you kind of want to look for unders for that reason. Everything is kind of priced to how it should play out now. But injuries affect football more than any sport, because especially when a quarterback goes down. So you look for reasons to play unders. I also take a real contrarian view to NFL futures, though, and I like to kind of like fade teams that vastly overperformed. Commanders last year, perfect example, or kind of look for a reason to play really ugly teams. And Joe filled in for you a few weeks ago, Joe Ranieri here about a month ago. And we were talking about the Jets and how they did not have a single interception in 17 games. In fact, they only forced 4 fumbles in 17 games. So turnovers do usually equal turnaround. But then again, interceptions aren't random, right? If you don't get a pick all year, something's wrong. But the Jets are the kind of team that, could we find a reason maybe to play them over this year? Maybe fade the Bears. I think the Bears are plus 33 last year. They had the best turnover margin. Chicago might be a team that regresses.
You don't have to talk me into fading the Bears.
Well, that's what I was saying. That's maybe one of those teams this year, right?
2011. It's just every year I fade Texas and I fade the Bears. I do no handicap. It is a free $2,000. Just in my account every single year, minus 2023. That was the year that I lost both of those. That was not very much fun. Or was it 2020?
What do you think your record should be if you're plus 33 in turnover margin? You should be the best team in the NFL, and they still weren't the best team in the NFL.
No, not by far.
If they'd been like equal on turnovers, they would have been a losing team easily.
The NFC North is that conference that I used to think was one of my favorites, and now it just seems like it's the Lions to lose, right? We've got some off the field issues with the Packers, amongst other things. I don't think they have a very good coach, but I digress there. I am pretty low on the Minnesota Vikings and Kyler Murray this year. I didn't care if it was JJ or Kyler. And then, of course, you've got the Bears, and that team not only overachieved last year, but they are this year's Washington Commanders. What happened?
I think you might be honest. That's kind of why I referenced them, because I like to fade teams that vastly overperform. Look, I lean unders for the injuries, but I do think the Lions overs make a lot of sense. So I'm glad you mentioned them. And let's back up to that Commanders game. Remember when they made the NFC title game, they upset Detroit on the road in the divisional round, the #1 seed, but they had a 5-0 turnover edge. And I feel like Detroit maybe just never got over that loss. They were kind of hung over all season last year. And now they're flying a bit under the radar. I still think they're one of the most talented teams in the NFL. They're very explosive offensively. Goff's a quarterback that doesn't make mistakes. So there again, the turnover ratio should help them. The WagerTalk office will be happy to hear us say that we like the Lions this year, because I'm with you on that one. By the way, Kelly, I think they have one of the easiest schedules in the league, maybe the easiest based on which metrics you look at also.
The Lions, I mean, listen, all signs point towards the Lions going to the Super Bowl, which tells me my little spidey senses say, guess what, Kelly? You are way too overzealous on this team. So I did not end up betting them. There are 3 NFL futures bets that I made and gave out to my clients over on WagerTalk. But there was some that just narrowly missed. We talked about them on BetOn. We'll talk about them on here. I've talked about them with Ariel and Joe this week. So there's a couple that I have on my list. But here's what I also don't want to do, Steve. I don't want to have 40 pending futures bets. Like if I bet everything that I had to talk about on air, there would be way too much liability for a volatile NFL season, and I'm not going to do that to myself. So, see, look, the Bears fans are already mad at me. Kelly,
I'll say this: another reason you don't want to have 40 future bets is because your money's tied up for 6 or 7 months, and so you have to have almost. You can make an argument. You almost have to have double the edge to make a futures bet because you can roll it every 3 hours otherwise, right? So you can roll it right now and be done at 4 o'clock today and roll it again. Now you got to wait 7 months.
The comment section is going to say, "We'll just bet those on credit," right? And I actually did.
Yeah, that is true. I mean,
right? They're going to say that, and that's fine, and I do. But then if I have a awful week, guess what happens? Now I have none on Sunday. If I have an awful Saturday or I have an awful Sunday, then I'm going, oh great, because I've got all of these futures bets clogging up the back end, especially right now because I've got MLB waiting to cash. My Chicago White Sox. Steve, I know I said we were going to talk baseball, but maybe they can hold on and win the AL Central.
Kelly talking baseball.
I'm not really. See, look, Matt Hudson, very good point. Keep a separate account just for my futures portfolio.
That actually is not a bad tip. I've seen people Teddy and I briefly talked about that. It's not a bad way to divide your bankroll up because once again, that's the real knock for me is that you can't churn that bankroll on a daily basis. So that's an interesting point.
All right, so let's talk what you got going on over at WagerTalk right now, Steve. And then VR gave us some public plays that I thought were interesting, and I was curious. Did you do a Fade the Public video this week?
No, I'll do week one NFL. College football, I'll do a top 25 video each week. And I mean, I guess I maybe could have come up with something this week, but I usually don't acknowledge week 0. It's not on my calendar.
When I talked to my dad about it, and he's like, week 0, why do they still call it that? And I go, well, I got in trouble for calling it that on the internet. But we don't have 2 week 1s. That doesn't exist. So
it's week 0.
It is.
I will say this. I looked at the ESPN schedule yesterday, and they have week 1 lumped with this and next week on their
Yes,
tabs.
I know. And so does the Score app. And I'm going, okay.
Yeah, and I don't feel like it used to be that way, did it?
That's why people are saying there's no more week 0. But
look, ESPN's on the cutting edge of political correctness, so they're doing it. We need to do it. Damn it. I mean, that's all I know. I know Kelly agrees with me on that. Let's get her started. No, week 0. I actually do have a best bet. I do have a best bet on a college football game this afternoon. It's on my page right now at WagerTalk.com, Steve Merril. And then I also did a free play video for the late night game, Memphis against UNLV. And it's a Group 6 game that actually has a lot of implications. Maybe one of these teams will probably be eliminated from the start after tonight from any playoff chances. So we can talk about that game, but I do have a deep dive in that one. And, hey, let's look at the 2 NFL preseason games. I didn't do a video for these 2 because one of them kicks off in about 90 minutes. But I like the over in both games today. I'll keep it short and sweet. Coming into this week 3, over the last 5 years, 21 through 25. And by the way, that's important because that's when the NFL went to the 3-game current format. If you blindly play the over in week 3, this final week, you've hit over 60% the last 5 years. Now, it's kind of 50-50 last night. I don't read too much into that, but we have a low total in this first game, 35.5. And while both the Lions and Colts have not looked good offensively this postseason, that actually kicks some over systems here. Teams that have struggled offensively usually break out in game 3, and both teams are trying to settle on their second quarterback. So I think there'll be more passing than normal. I like the over 35.5 in this 1 o'clock Eastern game for all the live viewers, Lions, Colts. And I also like the over 37 in the night game tonight at 6 Eastern, Bears and Titans. Of course, Salah is 12-2 straight up now as the coach of the Jets, 2-0 this year at the Titans, 12-2 combined. However, they haven't really covered either game. It's been a push and a 1-point loss against the spread, but they still play hard. They've got a great quarterback rotation. Ward, you got Levis, Trubisky, you got all NFL starters basically, and then Hooker, Hendon Hooker, whatever his name is, Tennessee guy, has looked pretty good also. And then Chicago was explosive offensively in week 1, terrible last week. So I think it's a little bit of a bounce back spot. And they also are trying to shore up their second and third string quarterbacks. So here again, I like the over in both games. You've got quarterback battles for the backup spot for all 4 teams. And week 3s have been 60% over with this 3-game format. So take a look at Lions, Colts over 35.5, Bears, Titans over 37 tonight on Saturday, a little NFL preseason finales.
All right. Yes. KIF 9296. Steve will be still doing his NFL Fade the Public videos. Steve, when do you plan on having those out? Friday night?
Yeah, and Kelly, I'm glad you mentioned that because one of the things we've been talking about Market Call Live, which will be each weekday, each weeknight. We'll probably do the first one on Wednesday, the 9th, since there's the New England-Seattle rematch. But one of the advantages, I mean, numerous advantages to being all access members, you get Market Call Live every week, exclusive, interactive with me. But I'm going to give my advanced look at the NFL Fade the Public data. So you're going to get it on that Wednesday night on September 9th, whereas the video won't be up until probably Saturday. I'll record it Friday. Usually it's posted Saturday. So we're talking 2-3 days in advance. So those of you that are doing your NFL Survivor contest, your Pick 5 contest through Splash on WagerTalk, that's pretty valuable information. And people have asked for that for years now. And I think this is a nice way to make it work. Also, my 10,000 game simulation in college football is usually ready around Wednesday or Thursdays. So I always bring that up for my top 25 video. But hey, look, there's like 50 games on the board. You can ask me personally about other games. I'll let you know which way I'm leaning. And we will talk contest strategy as well. And Kelly mentioned the Pick 5 and that $21 million Survivor, $1,000 entry. What? I can't afford that. Well, get 10 friends. You got 10 friends,
Yes.
it's 100 each.
And you can
that's a really cool
go over there
option.
and split the entry on Splash, divvy it up. You give yourself a manager who's the only one allowed to put in the pick. It has been great because it's so hard to do that with a Vegas contest.
Correct.
I have heard absolute and utter horror stories about having a friend sign up for you or splitting an entry because they only allow one person to sign that, and Splash makes it easy for you. They split it all up. You designate it before the season starts. So I have an entry with my good friend CT, John Murray, and his buddy Joff, and I just go 25%, bang. I'm in charge of putting in the picks. I've already got us mapped out for 18 weeks. That way I don't forget, which I won't forget, but you get the idea. I like that we can kind of.
Well, no, I mean, Kelly, for new viewers that don't understand, first of all, you don't have to fly to Vegas. That's a good or bad thing. I mean, Vegas is cool to go to, but that's
yeah, but I don't want to fly to Vegas.
I don't either.
Way too much stuff going on.
But you got to enter in person, and then you have to have a proxy submit them every week. You got to give them a cut. You also got to get in touch with them like a day early for the cutoff. What Kelly's saying is you can put in every pick for the season in case you oversleep, you're hungover and forget. And then best of all, you can change it up until like the 90 seconds before, right?
Yeah,
I mean, it's like,
and that's the greatest part. Johnny Detroit and I, Marco D'Angelo, Bobby the Bookie, we're in Pittsburgh. Marco's birthday. We've got the Pittsburgh Steelers and Survivor, Johnny and I do, and we're at dinner. I already submitted our pick. I didn't want to oversleep on Saturday morning and miss the cutoff. And guess what? I was going, oh my God, Big Ben's out. I need to change our pick. Sorry, it's already been submitted. You can't change it.
It's a huge advantage.
And flush your $1,000 or $500 each down the toilet. So it is a huge advantage to be able to change your pick up to the last minute. And of course, yes, I understand there's always a cost of doing business by flying to Vegas. And that one you can circumvent your Vegas trip with your wife, whatever that looks like. I understand. But for me, I am so happy I don't have to fly to Vegas and do any of the stuff anymore when I've got a million other things.
I mean, you referenced this earlier too. I think a really cool feature, which I still don't quite understand how this works, but it's legal in 35 states. But if you sign up in one of those states, you can be in one of the other 15 states all season long. Or if you're traveling. Anywhere.
Jesse Shule asked about signing up. If Jesse went home to Canada this summer and signed up, yes, he could submit from Thailand. Absolutely. But you have to sign up where it is legal. So if you live in, Vegas, and you got to go to California or Arizona or Utah anyway, sign up while you're there. I told John Murray, I said, make sure you sign up for our college contest when you're back home in Virginia this summer. Done. It's really only bad if you're never in another state. That does suck. But like my buddy who's a state trooper in Pennsylvania, he drives to Ohio and signs up every year. So people do find the ways to do it. Hopefully they're going to be legal in a few more states coming up soon. We'll see how some of those legislatures behave themselves. I know somebody in the comments earlier said no politics. Unfortunately, we are kind of handcuffed by these bastards in terms of gambling as well. So
I'm sure they'll get it right.
I hope so. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
So easy. I'll take the no on that.
Here you go. If you have legal sports betting, why can't you have contests? I make it make sense, Steve. Steve Merril is going to have Market Call coming up. I'm very excited about that. Fade the Public. You're going to do some college football stuff as well. Here on Last Call, he's going to be joining me. WagerTalk today. What else am I missing, Steve Merril?
Yeah, and excited for your new show. It's weekdays at 4 o'clock Eastern, right? Let people know about that again, too. That's a cool. I checked that out. It's a cool little show there. On tilt, is that what it's
On
called?
tilt, yes. Joe
Who would've
Ranieri,
thought?
and myself. Like, we were going through just different gambling terminologies, and I know on tilt is poker, but it is funny because I routinely stay on tilt just on a regular basis. Something knocks me off keel, and all hell starts to break loose. Joe is the mediator in the middle. Poor Joe has to deal with me and Ariel 5 days a week, but it's been a really fun launch this last week, and it is going to be, I think, a really different kind of gambling show. I wanted it to be something that's not just a pick show, not just an opinion show, but like you want to sit down and you want to be entertained, where we talk about the biggest headlines, we talk about some of the biggest games, and, you know, make you a better in the process. But also, it's not like Wager Talk. It's not like a Wager Talk show where we're like picks, information, and so forth. Because obviously I already do that over here.
I like that term, a better. I might steal that.
Better.
I think I've used it over. The first thing
have.
I think of is his mother was a mother. Mother was a mother. What did I say? His mother was a mother. That's the first thing I thought he said. Better. I might have to run with that one.
Better. I've been saying that at Wager Talk for a very long time, Steve.
No, I know you have. I've heard it before. I think I've used it again. A better.
Better. There you go.
Awesome. Yeah, I think the goal that should put Joe on tilt within the hour. Should be your goal every episode.
Oh, just see if we can get Joe to just
Joe's tough though. Joe's a pro. Joe
is a pro, and that's why we're very happy to have him. He has been in this industry a very long time.
Be a fun game though. Put Joe on tilt.
It's been great. If you guys have not got a chance to check it out, on Tilt, we have our own YouTube channel. And then I'm going to be here every single Saturday and Sunday with you guys on Last Call. I'm going to the beach right now, Steve Merril. I know you said you're going to call me because you got important stuff. So you're going to have to talk to me in the car because we're getting the hell out of here. The games are kicking off in 14 minutes. Steve Merril, I will talk to you soon. And all of you guys, I will see you guys Monday. Monday. I'm going to be back with KIV and Crack. Let me call Bill Krackenberger and make sure he remembers we are starting our show back up Monday. Talk some early NFL stuff. See what he's had going on all summer long. Wednesday, of course, I'll be back with Bet on It and my 3-team money line parlay. We got to still figure out where I'm going to put that and what we're going to do with it. Hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. And till next Saturday, keep those questions handy. Make sure you guys jump in the chats on all of the Wager Talk shows, as well as the latest and greatest ones over on Wager Talk's YouTube channel. Give us that thumbs up.